Ronald Reagan will win tonight.
What a schmuck.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hazel and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host Tanner Dykstra, who in himself is a mensch. And today we are talking about Armageddon Time, James Gray's follow-up to Ad Astra. A little bit of a flip of the coin to the other side, tonally, visually, everything. But if you want to talk to us about Armageddon Time or any of the other movies, including Banshees of Inisherin, which we just got done reviewing, you can join us in our Discord. That link is in the top description. And while you're down there, please subscribe to our channel. We're doing plenty of movie reviews. Like this video because you're going to like this review. You already do. It's just so great. And leave a comment letting us know your thoughts on Armageddon Time down below. But Tanner, we've seen Armageddon Time. Bad trailer, I would say. I did not like that trailer. But on the name James Gray and selling me on Jeremy Strong and Anthony Hopkins and Anne Hathaway and a couple new younger stars, I wanted to see this movie, and we have. What are your thoughts on Armageddon Time?
Armageddon Time is a fine movie. And I
Sure.
say that in the most middling of senses. It is absolutely sold on its strong cast. It is coming out sort of, unfortunately, in the shadow, but the pre-shadow of
Yeah.
the Fabelmans, because it is James Gray's retelling of his childhood experiences growing up in 1980s New York.
It's a Belfast-like.
It's a Belfast-like, yes. And it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, the performances are all right. You know, they have their moments. The writing is all right. It has its moments. The film overall has its moments, but those moments, you know, don't add up to be a compelling film overall. But what did you think, Tucker?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good movie. I can see the passion that goes into someone retelling their history and want to capture this period of time and recapture the excitement and wonderment of being a child, but the confusion of moving into new stages of life. These are all concepts that I totally see why James Gray really wanted to take a hard pivot from the spectacle and high conceptness of Ad Astra and focus something a little more personal. I definitely respect that, but I think in terms of it being so, as I said in our Banshees review, this is another low concept film. It's about a kid growing up, and he goes to private school, and it's kind of a unique thing for someone in his age bracket in this time period to have an interracial friendship, but those are really the craziest things that this movie tackles, and because of that, it ends up feeling solid, but probably will not stick out in my mind almost at all. I think it's good visually. I think you're right. You know, some good performances. I think actually surprisingly strong performances from our younger actors, as we'll get into. But this movie doesn't stick with me in any way. And I think that's because of how low concept it is.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like it doesn't try to be too much of anything is its real issue. There are moments where our young Paul, as portrayed by Banks Rapeta, has sort of like fantastical visions about his life as a future painter and stuff like that. But that happens twice, I believe.
I think, yeah.
And it doesn't go hard into like the racial and ethnic politics of 1980s New York. Of course, you know, Paul is a young Jewish child, and his friend Johnny is a young black child, and they're both maligned against by the powers that be in their own ways. And the movie was really about Paul coming to understand like racial and ethnic bias in systems of power, particularly the education system, because he's a child in public school and then subsequently private school, but also the racial bigotry that his own family holds. And that is interesting, sure, but I don't feel like it comes across in any interesting or compelling way other than, man, his parents are racist.
Yeah.
Except not his grandpa. Anthony Hopkins, shout out, not racist.
Anthony Hopkins is the greatest grandpa known to mankind.
Yes.
He's wholesome, he's funny, he gets you presents every day of the week, and he's kind of the reason to see this movie, is to watch Anthony Hopkins give a charming old man performance. And every time he's on screen, which is more of the movie than frankly I expected him to be in. I thought he was gonna be like kind of just a cameo, but no, he's a consistent presence throughout this film. Every time he's on screen, he's a scene stealer, and he's just so much fun. He's got a little smile on his face, and he's got his little quirks, and I really did love him. But it is it is Banks and Jalen Webb and their friendship and the growing up in a complicated time in terms of learning about the world and about your family and about things aren't what they seem, and these pictures you have in your head of why the world is so great or weird, maybe those aren't quite true, but it is because they're filtered through a child's point of view that it's an interesting and unique point of view about learning about the world through this way. But it's also why they're not like fully explored. Is we're not able to have heart-wrenching, really powerful scenes of racial injustice where it's really delved into, or learning about his parents having a racial prejudice or the experiences of anti-Semitism. They're kind of just, they're shown and then floated away from numerous times throughout this movie. And I think that kind of leaves it without having something to stick to of, oh, this is really the themes that this movie is going for, and man, it nailed them. No, it has them, and they're present, but they're only just present and not enough to really stick out above the rest of the ground.
Yeah. Something I would say, and this isn't a thought I've fully coalesced,
Sure.
but I think there's something strange about, obviously this is James Gray retelling his own childhood, and Johnny is based on a real life friend whom he had back in public school. But there is something strange about making it about this white kid's black friend who runs away from home, is being like hunted down essentially by social workers trying to put him in foster care. And this whole time we're like, oh, we'll come back to Johnny every 15-20 minutes. We'll see what Johnny's up to.
Yeah, and then only see him for a little bit and only get very close, very fleeting snippets of what his life is like outside of that. You're right that Johnny's a more interesting character. He absolutely is, and their relationship is the most interesting aspect of this movie, and it is where those themes all come to interesting heads. And frankly, watching them have fun at school and ditch class and be rude to the teachers is where a lot of the fun of this movie comes from. But while it's pretty solidly present in the first third or half of this movie, it does peter out as you near the end for multiple reasons, but that makes you feel like something's missing and that we're not following the more interesting part of the story.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm super negative on this film, because like I said, I think it's a fine movie, but the good aspects of it are very simple. There are good performances, writing is solid, direction is fine. But I feel like the bad aspects are more interesting to analyze here, which is why I'm going to talk about them more. Another poor aspect of this film, I feel, is the sense of, obviously, the nostalgia that James Gray is putting into this movie. It is in a reconciliation of his childhood in many ways, a representation of his childhood. Mm-hmm. So when he paints a picture of his family life as his parents are bigoted, they are abusive, particularly his father, as portrayed by Jeremy Strong, doing his best Ray Romano impression. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that home life has a sense of like nostalgia about it.
Sure.
That Tucker, if I can steal an argument from our Banshees of Inisherin review from you, makes it feel tonally dissonant and totally at odds with itself. Like,
I can definitely see that.
There is a filter of nostalgia over this, but like at the same time, his parents are bad people to him. They repeatedly beat him and things.
But then
like
also
that.
sometimes they're real sweet and they're joking around and having fun and giving him a kiss in the head.
Yeah, which sure that's kind of like what parents can be in real life, and I'm sure that's that James Gray still has a care and affection for his parents, but he recognizes these things about them as well. But I think it becomes a little bit conflicted in the filmmaking language. That's just something that struck me, I feel. Let me know if you have seen this movie, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's one that I didn't necessarily feel myself. I think that the filmmaking language and where I feel this film loses me the most is in its length. Is that this movie is under 2 hours, but I don't know if it necessarily has the content to warrant 2 hours. And it's when I start feel like we're kind of repeating story points here. It's like, man, I've seen him go to school and do not much except for be kind of a rabble rouser so many times. I don't know if I need to see this again or have a scene where they're having fun, but mom or dad says something mildly racist. It's like, I've already seen this one. So I think that a better edited version of this film at a 90 to 100 minutes would definitely make this film feel a little bit tighter, because it is in its slowness that most of the people that we were with felt that this movie was poor. I mean, the three friends that we saw this movie with all gave this film under half, under 5 out of 10, which is not something that we agree with, because we still think it's a good movie with those themes and characters and filmmaking, but it is such a slow movie that I think that's where most people are going to just dip out, because it doesn't do enough with its concept, as we were saying, to warrant an almost 2-hour runtime. And I think that, just a snippet into this kid's life would have worked a lot more if the movie was trimmed by 15-20 minutes.
Tucker, you're right. In the people that we saw it with didn't care too much for this, and as we get into our scores, we'll see that we're maybe on the lower end of the wide reception of this movie. It seems to be quite positive across the board. Maybe James Gray is just cultivating sort of a cult of fans around him. There is some quite avid fans of Ad Astra, and I'm sure, based on just some Letterboxd scores I was looking at, there seemed to be some quite positive reviews and reception of this movie as well. So we'll see how it all goes. If you're a big fan of Armageddon Time, absolutely let us know what you think the strengths and merits are of the film down in the comments, and where maybe our readings are falling short a little bit. But of course, our readings don't fall short because we are correct.
And we're perfect in every time. Yeah, absolutely.
And naturally. Tucker, what would your score for Armageddon Time be?
My score for Armageddon Time is going to be a good, but not mind-blowing, 6.4 out of 10.
Sure. I'll give it a 5.7.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. We're in an area, it's like, yeah, it's above average, but frankly, I expected more. From a director that did something as ambitious as Ad Astra and as acclaimed as Ad Astra, and from, frankly, a cast that I think could have done something
all-star cast,
more impressive in terms of the themes that they were tackling and the direction and the pacing, as we were saying, kind of just feeling like they're good, but not exceptional. And I'm still interested to follow James Gray's career. I mean,
absolutely.
Ad Astra is the only of his other films that we have seen. And going to the future, maybe he trends in this direction and does more low key personal stuff. But
he's doing a JFK movie next, I believe.
Okay, never mind. That's probably not very personal, because believe it or not, he's not John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
What? As far as we know, of course.
Great point. Never seen him.
Never seen the two in the same room, you know what I mean?
It's a great point. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, we also reviewed Banshees of Inisherin, so if you want to watch that review, we highly recommend watching that movie, of course. But and we'll have plenty of other reviews on the way for you as we get knee-deep into award season here. We're not fully submerged yet. We are knee-deep.
No.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
All right, put your phone down. Millennial. God.
Sorry.
Zoomers always be on the phone. Tanner, you're the reason why Last Duel failed.